Dobrý deň, pekný podvečer, pekný večer, to už zase záleží na vás, ako to cítite. Hlavne vitajte pri sledovaní ďalšieho programového dňa Dní architektúry a dizajnu a Dní architektúry a filmu 2021. Včera to bolo perfektné, stretli sme sa s mnohými z vás, ktorí nás teraz sledujete, ale aj s tými, ktorí dnes vystúpia ako hostia. V divadle Pavla Orsága Hviezdoslava máme za sebou taký druhý slávnostný, oficiálny deň aj s divákmi a teda veľmi sme si to užili. Aspoň ten jeden deň v tomto roku a v tomto ročníku Dní architektúry a dizajnu. Dnes pokračujeme opäť z nášho štúdia, nádherne vysvietený, pripravený, technicky silno pokrytý v Live Parku v Bratislave, ale teda je zase skvelé, že takto online môžeme pozdraviť celé Slovensko a vy si môžete v pohodlí domova, prípadne ešte niekde v zamestnaní, v ateliéri, kdekoľvek nás sledujete, pozrieť ďalší bohatý program 3. dňa Dní architektúry a dizajnu a Dní architektúry a filmu, pretože aj o filmoch je to v tomto roku. V závere dnešného večera a dnešného programu si pozrieme fínsky film Aalto, naozaj strhujúcu sondu do diela, ale aj do života jedného z najväčších architektov 20. storočia, Alvara Aalta. Predtým z prvej ligy architektúry sa vám predstaví belgické štúdio Dogma a dánske štúdio Johansens Arkitekter. Českom so svojou prezentáciou zastúpi architektonické štúdio OVA a pripoja sa k nám aj dobre známy Sadovský and Architects. Slovensko, Česko, to nesmie chýbať v žiadny programový deň Dní architektúry a dizajnu, pretože sa fokusujeme tento rok aj na túto federálnu scénu a porovnávame si, čo sa deje u nás a čo sa deje u susedov Čechov. Tak ako ste počuli, aj dnes očakávajte ďalších zahraničných hostí. Predtým, než rozbehneme tento program, tak by som sa rád o developerských aktivitách aj na Slovensku porozprával jednak s nórskym tímom Reiulf Ramstad Arkitekter, ale aj s prvým hosťom dnešného vysielania, ktorého už vítam v štúdiu v Live Parku. Pozrieme sa na aktivity CRESCO Real Estate a teším sa, že je s nami senior development manažer CRESCO Real Estate, pán Peter Murín. Peter, vítajte.
Dobrý deň, pozdravujem všetkých.
Hlavne máme radosť, že podporujete Dni architektúry a dizajnu a Dni architektúry a filmu. Prečo? V čom? A teda hovorte samozrejme za vás osobne, vidíte význam tohto podujatia.
Ja by som sa chcel teda v prvom rade poďakovať, že tu opäť môžeme byť na festivale DAAD. Myšlienka festivalu ako oslavy architektúry sa nám veľmi páči. Máme radi dobrú architektúru a tento festival podporujeme a snažíme sa každý rok priniesť nejaký zaujímavý projekt z nášho portfólia a taktiež nejaké architektonické štúdio, ktoré s nami spolupracuje. Tak ako to vlastne budeme robiť aj tento rok, kde by sme radi predstavili na naše pomery tak trošku akoby netradičný počin, ale o tom teda neskôr.
No rozhodne, poďme sa na to pozrieť. My v sekcii development veľmi radi dávame priestor práve takýmto nevšedným a teda zmysluplným developerským aktivitám. Teda veríme, že taký je aj ten, o ktorom budete hovoriť. Nech sa páči.
Ďakujem pekne. Dobrý deň, ešte raz pozdravujem všetkých. Moje meno je teda Murín Peter. Som senior development manažer v spoločnosti CRESCO Real Estate a mám na starosti prípravu investičných zámerov, teda veľmi zjednodušene všetky práce, dokým teda nezakopne prvý bager do zeme na stavenisku. A ako som už naznačil, tak dnes by sme chceli predstaviť trochu netradičný projekt na naše pomery. Ale ešte predtým mi dovolte povedať pár slov o našej spoločnosti. CRESCO Real Estate je najväčší slovenský rezidenčný developer. Sme čisto slovenská spoločnosť a aktuálne pôsobíme na dvoch trhoch, to znamená na Slovensku a v Čechách. História siaha do roku 1992, odvtedy sme už zrealizovali množstvo projektov. Z nich spomeniem aspoň pár. Je to napríklad projekt SOHO, ktorý realizujeme v Prahe, v Holešoviciach. Je to akoby taká naša prvotina, je to veľmi akoby čerstvá vec. Nedávno sme iba spustili teasingovú kampaň. Ďalej je to napríklad projekt Agaty, ktorý sa nachádza v Dubravke, Bratislave, na Agatovej ceste, na okraji lesa, kde sme nedávno vlastne spustili realizáciu. No a v neposlednom rade teda sú to slnečnice, naša vlajková loď. Na tento projekt sme veľmi hrdí. Je to v podstate najväčšie novobudované postkomunistické sídlisko, alebo teda štvrť. Veľmi sa z toho tešíme. Aktuálne tam už býva takmer 5000 ľudí. Tvorí sa tam veľmi pekná komunita. Pre nás je to taktiež výzva, lebo nie je to nejaká klasická zahusťovačka, je to v podstate budovanie novej štvrte, kde my už sme ako developer aktívni 10 rokov a najbližších 10 až 15 ešte budeme. Čiže toľko akoby v skratke o nás. A prešli by sme teda k samotnému projektu. A možno na úvod sa poskytuje akoby otázka, že prečo vlastne Jasná a prečo vlastne súťaž. Tak Jasná z viacerých dôvodov. Jeden z tých dôvodov je ten, že máme k tomu ako keby aj srdcový vzťah, jednak individuálny, ale aj tímový skrz nejaké firemné akcie a podobne. A nevyhýbame sa my akoby aj iným príležitostiam, aj keď teda sme primárne rezidenčný developer. A pre nás celkovo tento projekt bol veľká výzva, pretože sa nachádza v prírodnom chránenom prostredí, je to komplikovaný terén a chceli sme do toho ako keby vstúpiť trošku iným spôsobom. Určite nechcem teraz ako keby hodnotiť históriu výstavby v Jasnej. My sa sústreďujeme hlavne na našu prácu a preto sme sa aj pustili do medzinárodnej architektonickej súťaže s cieľom priniesť do lokality unikátnu architektúru, ktorá teda dbá na hodnoty, tradície a rešpektuje prírodu. K samotnému súťažnému zadaniu. Na úvod musím povedať, že táto súťaž a celkovo projekt v Jasnej ma neskutočne baví, pretože je to aj pre mňa nová výzva, je to nová lokalita, je to nová typológia stavby v podstate a čelíme akoby novým výzvam jednak na politom projekčnom, ale aj na komplikovanej situácii politickej alebo komunálnej. A k samotnému súťažnému zadaniu by som možno povedal, že celému tomu predchádzal keby výber štúdií, kde sme si robili prieskum na európskom trhu a venovali sme sa hlavne referenciám a portfóliu, tak aby tí architekti mali skúsenosti s horskou architektúrou a s prácou s prírodnými materiálmi. Do širšieho výberu sme mali 15 štúdií, možno z zaujímavosti sme oslovili aj mená ako Snoheta a Kobe Studio. Bola by to veľmi veľká pecka, keby potvrdili, ale títo žiaľ teda z kapacitných dôvodov odmietli. A nakoniec máme v súťaži 5 mien. Sú to slovenské štúdia Kompas a JRKVC, teda Peter Jurkovič, talianske štúdio Plazma, Beuk Perovič architekti zo Slovenska a Reiulf Ramstad Arkitekter z Nórska. Poďme však k samotnému súťažnému zadaniu. Toto bude pár ako keby takých technickejších slajdov, ale aby sme sa trošku dostali do tematiky. Museli sme samozrejme splniť rôzne okrajové podmienky. Celému tomu predchádzala podrobná analýza dokumentácie, lokality. Ja nechcem ísť teraz do detailov, ten súťažný brief mal takmer 20 strán, ale ten úplný základ, tá hlavná okrajová podmienka je územný plán obce Demenovská dolina, ktorý teda to naše územie rozdeľuje do dvoch funkčných plôch. Severná parcela sektoru X, kde je dovolená výstavba jednoduchých stavieb s maximálnou zastávanosťou 300 m2 a podlažnosťou 1+1. A južná parcela, ktorá dovoľuje teda výstavbu hotelového objektu so zastávanosťou maximálne 50 % s nie úplne jasnou definovanou podlažnosťou, kde sme my nechali architektom viac menej voľnú ruku s nejakým našim teda odporúčaním. Čo sa týka ďalších limitov, na obrázku ortofotomapy vidieť teda plánovanú aj existujúcu technickú a dopravnú infraštruktúru a taktiež existujúce stavby, ako je hotel Bjornsson, prípadne penzión Aspen, ktoré sme museli tiež v tom súťažnom zadaní rešpektovať. Suma sumárum, teda veľmi pekná lokalita v Jasnej, avšak náročné zadanie, s ktorou sa museli architekti vysporiadať. Aby sme vás trošku vtiahli možno aj do tej internej kuchyne, tak by sme radi preklikali aj tie ostatné návrhy, teda nielen ten víťazný. Skúsim to zobrať trochu z rýchlika. Plazma Studio, je to v podstate v poradí ako keby od konca, čiže Plazma Studio na 4. mieste. To poňali ako keby prísne cez nejaký grid a modulový systém. Nám sa akoby toto riešenie nie úplne pozdávalo ako vhodné do toho horského prostredia. Na ukážku pár vizualizácií. Na 3. mieste sa umiestnil ateliér teda Petra Jurkoviča, ktorý poňal viac tradičnejšie ten návrh, zvolil formu 4 šaletov, klasických áčkových, ktoré umiestnil na parcele v zmysle teda toho funkčného zadania. Tento zámer akoby nie úplne zodpovedal mierkou tomu súťažnému zadaniu, ale hodnotili sme ho veľmi pozitívne. Na zdieľanom druhom mieste sa umiestnil ateliér Beuk Perovič, ktorí taktiež zvolili formu 4 objemov klasického ačkového typu, kde hlavnou ideou bolo ako keby ten samotný šalet alebo tú chatu vniesť aj do interiéru vo vstupnom lobby a taktiež vo wellnesse. Tú hlavnú hmotu poňali architekti trošku ikonickejšie a chceli tou výškou ako keby dosiahnuť výhľady, čo ale podľa nášho názoru by mohlo v lokalite pôsobiť trochu kontroverzne. Ďalej na zdieľanom druhom mieste sa umiestnil Kompas architekti, s ktorými spolupracujeme teda pravidelne na Slnečniciach. Oni zvolili koncepciu väží vertikálnych, ktoré sú spojené preskleným jadrom. Tie jednotlivé bloky sú rôzne výškovo usporiadané a rešpektujú terén. Kompas zvolil takú skôr modernejšiu formu architektúry s plochou strechou, avšak myslíme si, že teda tým umiestnením a rozohraním tých výšok vôbec nepôsobí rušivo v tej lokalite. No a nakoniec teda víťazom súťaže sa stal nórský tím Reiulf Ramstad Arkitekter. Je to štúdio, ktoré pôsobí v Osle, veľmi dobre pracujú s prírodnými materiálmi, s horským prostredím, majú mnoho referencií a z tej súťaže v podstate vzýšli ako jednoznačný víťaz. A ten ich koncept hmotový je veľmi jednoduchý, hmota graduje súbežne s zvažujúcim sa terénom. V zóne X je to 5 malých šaletov, hlavný objekt je zložený z 3 odstupovaných blokov. A mne osobne sa najviac páčil keby ich prístup a celé to štúdium tých tradičných foriem slovenskej architektúry. Naozaj sa tomu venovali, mali množstvo otázok. A pri tomto konkrétnom slajde ja si vždy spomeniem na Vlkolínec, keď ma Peder, teda, ktorý už určite čaká na Zoom linku, požiadal pri jednej z obhliadok, že či by sme nemohli vybehnúť do Vlkolínca. Tak samozrejme sme sa tam šli pozrieť. Bola hrozná zima, šialene pršalo, ale on si bez dažníka úplne nadšene s úsmevom na tvári fotil všetky detaily, takže toto akože vo mne zanechalo takú stopu. O tom koncepte by som už nerad viac. Určite o tom povie viac Peder, možno iba taký teasing vizualizácie, ktorým sa teda určite ešte budeme venovať. A na záver by som možno ešte rád povedal, že celý tento projekt a táto súťaž keby bola pre nás výzva, ako som už na začiatku spomínal, a určite mnohí vedia, že aká je aktuálne situácia v doline. My samozrejme chápeme aj postoje obce. My však nechceme, aby sme boli hádzaní do jedného vreca a teda trúfam si povedať, že sa nemáme za čo hanbiť a urobili sme to teda zodpovedne s architektonickou súťažou, s prezentáciou návrhu a aj teda napriek všetkému veríme, že sa nám tento zámer podarí v dohľadnej dobe zrealizovať. Čiže toľko asi za mňa. Ďakujem za pozornosť a teším sa teda na časť, ktorú bude mať Peder a predstaví ich štúdio, práce, vrátane teda nášho projektu v Jasnej.
Na dňoch architektúry a dizajnu hovoril v týchto chvíľach Peter Murín z CRESCO REAL ESTATE a my sa posunieme v našom programe aj ďalej a práve za víťazným návrhom tým architektov nórskeho štúdia Reiulf Ramstad Arkitekter, ktorí v medzinárodnej súťaži obhájili svoj návrh, prinášajú v projekte apartmánových domov UNIQ Jasná perspektívu delikátneho severského dizajnu a citu pre symbiózu tradície a inovácie a pritom rešpektujú jedinečnú prírodnú lokalitu, v ktorej pribudne nielen osobitý architektonický prvok, ale aj živé miesto, kde sa ľudia radi pristavia. The next speaker to join us is Peder Brubek-Bua, je z Reiulf Ramstad Arkitekter. I believe that we are in connection. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello.
Perfect. We are looking forward to hearing your presentation about the project of UNIQ Jasná. If you are ready, we are prepared and we listen.
Yes, thank you very much. First and foremost, thank you for being here. Not live, obviously, but or in person, but connected. And thank you, Peter. Thank you for the presentation. It's a pleasure for me to work with CRESCO. Also, it's a pleasure for me to present what we have here. Let's have a look if we can share the screen. Just a second. Can you see our screen?
No, we cannot.
Okay. I get a message that the host disabled participant screen sharing. Maybe you can, is it possible to turn that on? We can share our screen.
Take your time, Peder.
Yes, I think that's it. Can you see our screen now?
Yes, but not full screen.
I think we're in.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm excited to be here to talk about our office. As you know, we're a Norwegian office. We were founded in 1995. We have about 27 employees from 8 different nations. Somewhat small, mid-sized Norwegian office, but still fairly international. Our head office is in Oslo, but we also have a smaller department in Aarhus in Denmark that we recently started. Here's some overview of the different scales that we're working in. So it's everything from large urban planning projects. This is a large urban planning project of 200,000 square meters. And then we go all the way down to just small landscaping projects. This one is in France. We also have a project in Miami, and this one is in Sweden. Obviously, we also work quite a lot in Norway. A couple of years ago, we published a book called Contours and Horizons. It is divided into 5 topics that are illustrating how we work, our design philosophy and approaches to get to the results. I'm going to show you some different projects that we have recently done and that we're still working on. And then also, obviously, I'm also going to talk a bit about the Jasná project. So this is towards the global is the first topic. And we often use the concept of the map as a way to contextualize the way we work. We always try to discover and explore in every project that we do. But it's also that architecture is somewhat overlapping different layers, dimensions of just hybrid context. So you have the cultural context, physical context, and then we have to navigate through all these different contexts or overlapping contexts in our work as creative thinkers. So this is somehow that architecture is a multi-layered narrative that we always work with in each and every project that we do. And obviously we also as a nation have to relate to the global problems that are also elsewhere in the world. This is an image from China. This is what we hope not to do, but it's somewhat interesting, and we have to relate to these global problems like urbanization, obviously on a different scale, but we still have some of the same issues that we see around the world. And it's hard to design in a humanistic and have a humanistic approach when it's becoming too compact. And that's why we're also always trying to figure out how something ought to be, and not how things are in some sort of like a scientific way, or always have to constantly reinvent and ask questions of established norms. So this is a high-rise building that we were working on in Oslo. It's 65,000 square meters tall tower in the city center of Oslo. So this is the most complex site in Oslo at the moment. It's an extension of an existing train station, as you can see down here to the left. And it includes a train station, commercial spaces, offices, and a public roof terrace on the top. So it's a very busy site. The train station and all that very complex. It's a very complex geometry of the site, so it's a very difficult project, but it's very exciting as well. And we worked quite a lot with the human scale in this project, as we do in every project. How we're able to break down the volume into smaller volumes, so everything can be like have a human scale to it. It's also very prominent from different aspects of the city, both from the city center, but also from the sea, the fjord, which is a very important part of the Oslo cityscape. For the facade, we're very interested in working with wood, obviously, as a wood nation. So this is a delicate double skin facade with some warm wooden interior. And on the floor, ground floor, we're trying to create a canopy to connect the fjord and the city in sort of a new living room of Oslo. And this is the extension. This is seen from the inside, the old structure and the new structure. The second project is a housing project, also in Oslo. Just recently finished. It's about 7,000 square meters. The site is located in the intersection between a historical area, a more dense urban city area, and then an open park towards the east. The building volumes are very much affected by its situation and how it's kind of continuing the old area and ending up in a more dense volume towards the south and towards the urban blocks. The volumes are rising from 4 floors to 6 floors at the end, with duplex apartments on top and roof terraces. This is images from the shared spaces, which are very much. It's given a lot of attention in this project. This is quite unique for a housing project to give that much attention to the public areas, because they are usually ignored in housing projects. But this is a kind of a high quality housing project. They also invested a bit in the common spaces, and this affects the impression of the architecture quite a lot. So in the center core of the largest building, you have this wooden staircase in the middle. And also in the top, you have this common roof terraces and some private as well, which are very nice outdoor spaces for very urban living. We put a lot of attention to the material composition as well. The facade is washed bricks, And then interior are mainly oak timber and concrete, poured concrete in situ. Quite raw composition. The number two is the local. The topic number two is close to the local. Local is not as an opposition to the global reach. Local traditions have to be enriched by outside impulses, inspiration to make the architecture flourish. So, and somewhat strengthen the local traditions. This is something that we worked quite a lot with in Jasná project. I will get back to that. But it's very important with the local inspiration and the local knowledge, especially in a time where inspiration from all over the world is quite is in your pocket, more or less. So to strengthen and enhance the local qualities, that's a topic that we worked quite a lot with in Jasná. These two images were very like a strong inspiration for us. They you can almost feel the space and the tactility of these old houses, and this is something that is missing in more modern housing, but it's very exciting to work with. So the chalet and ski resort in Jasná, as Peter probably mentioned, is about 2,200 square meters, and both chalets and ski resort. So this reinterpretation of local traditions have been something that we have been working a lot with also in Norway. This is a small cabin that is reinterpreting the Norwegian Nordic traditional cabin in a way, but does so in a different way, in a new way. And this is something that we also want to do in the high terrace, in the low terrace, and the Tatras Mountains are also quite similar to Norwegian landscape in a way, and we believe that the new luxury is no longer all the materialistic things that we see around us. It's not only the most expensive car, but also the experience, how to experience nature in a strengthened way, and we believe architecture can do that for us. So it's this is the site. It's a north-facing slope, which is a bit challenging. It's in between different ski routes, ski slopes, and we designed this as a ski in, ski out principle. We have different ways of arriving to the sites, and we obviously wanted to maximize the views, but also still pay attention to the sun, which is a bit challenging in this site and this regulation. But then at the end, we wanted to create a meeting place where the cars are not allowed in the middle of the project. So as Peter mentioned, there were some regulations that we need to take care of. And then they gave the outline of the building. And then we wanted to split it up into smaller volumes, but also to have the orientation that we wanted. And then we have the ski in, ski out principle, but also the scale and form that we wanted to express, and this is how we can see the heart of the project, the importance of breaking down the scale to make it relatable to the human beings, but also how the warmth interior and the cold exterior would relate to each other. Also, the choice of materials have been quite important. I will get back to that soon, but I wanted to bring in the ground floor drawing because this one is interesting in terms of how our concept was brought on even further when we worked with the project in the next phase. And it's also the vernacular architecture, the traditional architecture, the Slovak architecture were very inspiring. It's very relatable to the Norwegian traditions as well. And we wanted to get some of these, the feeling of these houses into the project. And this can also give some idea of scale and materiality. This is also something that we've been working on in different projects, and these attention to details are also very important in this project to get that sense of quality that you want, and that is the absolutely most sustainable way of designing is the building that people start to love is a building that will retain for a long time. This is how we ended up with that project, and it's still an ongoing process, but it's very exciting. It's an exciting project to work with. Next topic is in the office. It's the question of how you want to live your life, how you want to be working. We have quite a high demand of comfort. Some are solving it just technological, but it's also a sensory, a kind of emotional sensory experience, and how you want to spend your time. This is our office. It's an old house in the middle of Oslo. It's also exciting because it's some sort of a very inspiring neighborhood, and we try to find inspiration elsewhere than just the architecture, also art, music, literature, and other ways of thinking. So the modern way of thinking architecture is more or less like a Google search, like an algorithm. But we believe that architecture is, as I mentioned earlier, many layers on top of each other, and it can't be turned into one single formula. So this is our office. It's a 19th century villa in Oslo. It's located in a place where it used to be outside the city center. It used to be a recreational space for the rich people in Oslo. But as the city grew, this has been in the middle of the city, in the middle of city center. It has earlier been an embassy and children's theater, so it has a lot of history in it. It contains of 3 floors where Reiulf and his wife lives on on top, and then we have our office in the middle and the ground floor. And this was a huge job to get this up and running. It was a massive job, and it was also challenging because it was the art of preserving what do you want to keep and what is the essence of the building, and what do you need to throw away and repair and all that. So this is a glass floor that we have in our office. It's and it expresses the old construction of the building. These are over 200 years old, and massive timber constructions. So it's kind of retaining and displaying the character and identity of the building. But it's also the outside spaces where we feel that we can just walk straight out in the garden, and we have these small elements of water, and we strongly believe that this will affect the quality of the work that we do. So the next one is the construction site. That is one really big part of our work. We love to be on the building site, and it's very important for us as well. This is a different battleground than where ideas materialize. One thing is through art and architecture and literature, but this is a whole different part of it. It's the importance of being on site and discuss with the carpenters and the people that work there, and also follow rules and regulations, finding alterations and solutions to them. It's a very similar approach on the site as well. Is how can we obtain the concept and get the architect through the project without always compromising. So to solve a building process, there's always a combination of technology and nature, physical landscape and physical building, and obviously an importance of listening to local knowledge and craftsmanship. So it's these different arguments of both economical solutions or arguments and rationality are impacting the final solutions. So this is what we see here is a building site called Trollstigen in Romsdalen. This is hanging out, and there's 200-300 meters straight down. It's an 800 square meters visitor center, restaurant, and a gallery, and a 950 square meters flood barrier structure. So it's more or less a project that is working with the landscape and repairing the landscape rather than just building new buildings, because the site is about 200,000 square meters. So as you can see here, here's the main visitor center, the parking, the flood barrier, and then this small pavilion. So it's mainly a corten steel and poured concrete building. So very rough materials because this is in the mountains, and the weather conditions are very harsh, and the weather is shifting very quickly. That's why we also had to spend 7 years to build the building, because you can't work here during the winter. So it's a lot of the question is how to solve this on site, you have to work with the constructors, but also engineers and use all the technology available. And this is creating these very defined zones between the man-made and the natural landscape. And you can see this is very tricky to build this. You needed climbers and very and local knowledge. The last topic is the landscape or how to work in the landscape. This is as you saw in the last project, we worked in the mountains. This one is more in the city, but still related, strongly related to the fjord and the mountains around. It's a local, we were inspired by the local traditions, crafts, but also it's an extension to a museum, our main building, to a folk museum that includes all these old houses. It's the city of Molde in a region called Ramstad, so it's a very small city with about 30,000 inhabitants. The completed museum is an architectonic attraction and a treasured landmark, which kind of embodies both the local history, regions history and traditions, and the landscape in one structure. It's kind of folded together to create both a mountainous landscape, but also referring to the scale of the other buildings in the museum, it is kind of taking up some of the same volumes as the existing buildings. There were a lot of attention to details in this building. It was pushed to the extreme, so you get the glass either all the way out or all the way in, and it was an inventive use of timber and massive timber in this project. So there was just a lot of work of using timber as construction work. Also, obviously, a base of concrete, but then to push the windows all the way out or all the way in. And then to create the importance of creating interior spaces that people and the locals can refer to, use on a daily basis, but that they primarily love was very, very important. And this has been a huge success for the local in the local city, and that's the most important part for us, is to create a very successful building, successful architecture for the people and for the different local environments. So yes, I guess that was what I had. I hope you had a bit of an impression of our work and our office. And I hope this was inspiring for you. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continue to work on the ESA project.
Yes, Peder, we enjoyed that. And please, if you can, turn off your full screen. We would like to see you again. We enjoyed your presentation, and thank you for your very informative and colorful presentation. Can you turn it off?
Yeah.
Tak, Peder sa s nami už rozlúčil v tejto chvíli. Ďakujeme veľmi pekne. No, pozreli sme sa teda na prácu nórskeho štúdia Reiulf Ramstad Arkitekter, a teda Vypočuli sme si o ich práci aj o projekte, s ktorým zvíťazili v súťaži o projekte UNIQ Jasná. Ešte raz teda vďaka aj CRESCO REAL ESTATE, ktorí podporujú Dni architektúry a dizajnu a Dni architektúry a filmu. Radi sme si vypočuli o vašich aktualitách.